yet? Why don't you have kids? What happened with your divorce? Why did you leave your job? Have you ever had to deal with an uncomfortable, awkward, or an intrusive question? Then in today's video, we are going to talk about how to deal with those questions politely in English. Hi, I am Surabhi Jain, your language acquisition coach, and I help you live your English and love your English. I help you learn English beyond classroom so that you grow in your professional life. One of the biggest difficulties while speaking in English is how to answer or deal with an uncomfortable question. The biggest challenge is how to respond. That's what makes it difficult. When you are speaking in your native language, you completely know what to say. But when you are speaking in a second language, specifically in English, you might get a bit embarrassed. You're surprised by the question and you completely don't know what to say or do. So in today's video, I'm going to share 5 strategies and some commonly used English phrases and expressions which will not only help you to deal with such uncomfortable questions politely, but also end the conversation without making both of you feel bad or uncomfortable. Or you can also continue the conversation by just completely changing the topic of conversation. So stay till the end. So before we even begin the video, I want you to understand that you don't have to answer any question which makes you feel uncomfortable or awkward. If someone asks you something and you don't feel good about it, simply you don't have to answer it. So let's dive deep into the 5 strategic ways which you can use to deal with such situations. Strategy number 1, play at their own games. Now, I recommend this strategy only if you know the person really well. You get to see them regularly and if you can control the intonation in English. Now, playing at their own game actually means repeating the question back to them, the uncomfortable and awkward question which they have asked you. So probably if somebody asks you, why aren't you married yet? So you can say, well, let me ask you, why aren't you married yet? Or somebody asks you, hey, what's your weight? So you can just say, hey, tell me first, what did you weigh earlier? Or if somebody asks you, what's your salary? How much money do you make? So you can just tell them, you tell me first, how much money do you make? So you are asking back the question to them in form of a joke. So here once again, let me remind you that you need to control the intonation in English. So the way you are speaking should sound playful and light rather than angry or upset. So if you are using this strategy, I recommend that you use it with a person you really know well. Probably you see them regularly. It can be your neighbor or one of your colleagues whom you work with. So this strategy is not that easy for a few people if you cannot control the intonation in English. So if you're not comfortable in repeating and asking that inappropriate question back to them, I have 4 other strategies which are really simple and polite to use. Strategy number 2, address it politely. So this is a perfect strategy using which you can end the conversation or ask a different question to change the topic of discussion. So you can say something like, I'm so sorry, I don't like talking about that. I'd rather not discuss that. I don't want to get into that. I'd rather not discuss this now. Maybe we can go to lunch sometime and talk about it. Sorry, is it okay if we change the subject? Sorry, is it okay if we talk about something else? I don't really feel comfortable discussing that. Strategy number 3, be direct. Now this strategy is useful when particularly someone asks you a quite nosy or intrusive question. If the question is quite inappropriate, you can use any of these phrases. That's a bit direct. I'm not going to answer that. That's a bit forward to ask that. You're making me uncomfortable. I don't want to answer that. That's a bit personal. Surely you don't expect me to answer that. I'm surprised you would ask something so personal. Wow, are you seriously asking me that? I'm going to pretend you didn't just ask that. Now, these are pretty direct responses, and they instantly make the person realize that they shouldn't have asked such a question. And specifically, you don't have to answer if you don't want to answer it. Strategy number 4, call them out. Now, let's imagine someone wouldn't stop asking that uncomfortable question. They simply refuse to stop asking. In such a situation, you can straightforward call them out. This means you can simply tell them that what they are doing is unacceptable. So in such a situation, you can use following sentences. I can't believe you're asking that. It's really inappropriate. I won't answer that, and you really shouldn't be asking. It is not okay to ask that. That is very rude to ask. You really shouldn't ask people things like that. Why are you asking me? What do you need to know? I was taught not to ask questions like that. Strategy number 5, brush it off. The final strategy which you can use to deal with an inappropriate question is to brush it off like a joke. You need to laugh a little bit, make a joke out of it, and then simply move forward in the conversation without answering the question. Now, in this strategy, you need to take control of the intonation of your English. Do you remember in the very first strategy which we talked about in this video, we asked you to have control on the intonation of your voice. So you need to keep your voice light, friendly, and polite. You need to take care of the intonation of your voice. So some common phrases which you can use to brush it off like a joke, to make a joke of an inappropriate question can be like, that's for me to know and for you to never find it out. I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you. Wouldn't you love to know? I'm afraid I'm going to have to leave you in a suspense on that one. Forever. You seem to want to know everything. Would you like to read my diary also? My lips are sealed on that. So in today's video, you learned 5 strategies of how to deal with an uncomfortable question. You also learned some common phrases and expressions in English which the native English speakers use. So if you want to really get comfortable in dealing with such awkward questions, you need to review this lesson and find out 1 or 2 phrases which you can easily remember and you are comfortable in saying them. Practice saying them out loud in front of a camera or in front of a mirror so that when you come across such a situation, hopefully you never do, but suppose you get a neighbor or a colleague who's too nosy and who's asking you some personal questions which make you awkward, you know how to move out of those situations, how to respond to those questions politely without sounding rude and end the conversation happily without ruining your relationship with that person. So now I have a question for you. Have you ever been in a situation where somebody asked you an uncomfortable question? What strategy did you use? Was it similar to the ones which were used in the video, or was it something different? If it was something different, I would like you to mention it in the comment box and share it with my Fearless Communication tribe. Maybe some of my members might find it helpful. Another question which I have for you is, which was your favorite strategy in today's video? Or which was the phrase which you liked the most? Do share in the comment box. And if you found this video helpful and interesting, don't forget to share it with your friends and colleagues. Give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more interesting content. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Till then, this is Surabhi Jain saying goodbye.